Okay, I'm so excited to be chatting with you. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. It's very sweet.
I'm happy to.
So I have a list of questions,
Okay.
but before we get started, I just wanted to ask for a summary of somatic therapy and how you would describe it to someone if they've never heard of it. So for this project that I'm working on for school, after every project we do a presentation to this group of kids, and I think a summary and a few good ways to summarize the idea of the polyvagal theory and having control over your nervous system would be a really great tool for younger kids to be able to understand. So
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So somatic work means that it is work that involves the body, not just your left brain file folders. Now, having some understanding in the left brain file folders helps you in moving your body. And that would be what they talked about for years, the mind-body connection. So I am a longtime counselor, and I'm also a board-certified dance movement therapist and a somatic educator. And I have originated a trauma healing method called Chi for Two. Chi as in energy. And it's about the energetic dance that happens between people, because that's the thing that sets our nervous system off. Mm-hmm. So somatic work is work that there's mindfulness about the body component. All therapeutic work, all helping dances are helping because of the relational aspect of it. And that's what polyvagal theory helps us really understand, is how the energetic dance of relationship affects our sensations in our body. It affects the nerves that flex the muscles that move the bones.
During my research, I ran into this word called co-regulation. Is that what you're referring to? Like co-regulating?
Yes, and so co-regulation means that it's not just up to one person entirely to regulate their nervous system, because we are group animals, and because we wire our nervous system functioning in a dance with another person. I made a drawing so that people could just really feel into that. This is when you are capable of being self-regulated. But like right here, it's not just up to you, huh?
Yeah.
And even here, it's not just up to you. If somebody doesn't bring you food and shelter, if somebody doesn't hold your big old baby head so you don't feel like you're going to get dropped and your head's going to bust open like a melon, that affects your, I mean, right now, can you just feel in your own head how that kind of gets your nervous system going?
Yeah, that's weird.
And what you just did, it's so beautiful right here. This is where the ventral vagal nerve is, the one that Porges was studying. So Stephen Porges is the scientist that created the polyvagal theory. And what's theoretical is all these things he has about thoughts about how this developed through animal history. But what's anatomical, you can see it, is that this branch of the vagus nerve that is right here, right where your hand went, is myelinated. That means it's coated. It's got a sheathing on it, a protection that allows it to function in a more nuanced way. So the vagus nerve is the 10th and longest cranial nerve. Comes down right there from the brain.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Have I said enough for that you want to ask me your first question?
Yeah, that's awesome. So the first question I had for you was just what was your first experience with the polyvagal theory? Like, how did you find out about it?
That is so fun for you to ask me. No one has asked me that question before. And I've had a lot of podcast interviews. I was sitting in supervision at my therapy center where I worked at the time. So supervision, it's not like being super able to visualize. It means that somebody's just checking on how we're doing as therapists, and we are checking on each other for peer supervision. Anyway, and somebody said something about the polyvagal theory. And what popped out of my mouth is polyvagal theory helps us understand that our bodies have an active state that is not fight flight. Over the years, I have made another drawing. And this, so when I did my deep dive and read Stephen Porges' Polyvagal Theory book with looking up a lot of medical information because it's very medical, I saw everything that I'd ever experienced in my own personal therapy and in the work I'd done with clients. It was like everything just fit. And so I kept trying to draw what I was seeing. And eventually I created this. And this is actually my husband draw. He's actually a artist. And I said, but make it look like these little stick figures that I draw for my clients. And so this is the drawing.
You know what, I was reading an article by you, and that's the drawing that I was using for reference.
Yes, it is, because it really helps us see. When I train Chief for 2 embodiment coaches, I will tell them to hold this and then do this. So you can see it's got a little bend right there from me having done that so much. And to explain to people, I'm happy to explain to you and to your viewers, your people who will view your video, that we used to think our bodies had one continuum of active and calming. And this was sympathetic, the activating part of the system. And this was parasympathetic, the calming part of the system. And then you were trying to balance that out and find some sort of sweet spot in the middle. And then when people's bodies were bouncing back and forth between anxiety and depression, they felt crazy. What's wrong with me? So it's so lovely that what polyvagal theory helped us know is we have an active state that is not fight flight. And when we are in this state, there is a calming that occurs. When you're in this state, it's playful to be really super active. And your body can feel a yawn. And it's like, okay, enough of that. It's time to rest. You know, I'm feeling thirsty. You know, I think I could eat something right now. Your body naturally has a homeostasis like wild animal bodies do when you sense safety. And then if you sense danger, wild animals, if you sense danger, then you shoot off the fight flight. If you feel trapped, you go into shutdown. Shutdown is a feigning of death. It's this is the work that Peter Levine, a longtime trauma expert, helps us understand, because he studied animals, and you can see lots of videos. If you Google Peter Levine, he'll show you pictures of animals that go into shutdown when a predator is nearby, and they look dead. And then when the predator doesn't eat them, they shoot back into fight flight, run to safety, shake it off.
That's interesting. So I was watching a video about like shifting between those, and they described it as like our ancestors dealing with a lion. Like you're in fight or flight mode when the lion is chasing you or when you see it, and then you shut down when it's about to eat you, so you don't have to experience the pain. So I thought that was a great like way to explain it like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then what happens? Well, so do you feel I sufficiently answered that question?
Oh, keep talking. Talk all you want. Yeah, it's interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
So dance movement therapists, more than any other kind of therapist, have known for a very long time that there's some movement expressions that we just don't have available. And that our nerves, if our nerves were to fire our muscles to move our bones in those ways, we would feel very uncomfortable. And so what we teach in Chi for Two is that we can have certain movements in certain situations with certain people that we're able to do using the ventral vagal active state. And the name of that state is play dance. So we're able to play around and feel safe in certain situations with certain people. And then there are other movement expressions. Usually this happens in family systems and then in cultural systems, that when we were babies and we acted like that, the reaction of everybody was so intense that we went, have I done something wrong? And then we do that a while, and eventually we just put that movement in shutdown. And this is something that therapists call dissociation. This allows us to dissociate certain ways of moving. And this is true also for animals once we start domesticating them. And we have learned a way to put a movement in shutdown is when you do that movement, if there is a sudden explosive energy coming at you, a biting kind of energy, that rhythm of bite. So it used to be like, I'm gonna spank this, can you feel right there how your body just goes,
Yeah.
and if you do that move, if you go, you can feel it right in your core. It's like there's just this in your core. Can you sort of feel what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That's where the dorsal branch of the vagus nerve is. So here's where the ventral, that is myelinated branch is. And they call it ventral because ventral means front. Now there's a right and a left vagus that comes down from the spine. And in both right and left, there is one that curves forward that's myelinated. And then behind that, like dorsal meaning the dorsal fin on a dolphin, it means behind. Behind that is one that comes down. It has many branches in the heart and many in the intestinal area. Scientists are talking a lot now about our belly brains. And we've known that, that expression, what's your gut tell you? What's your intuition? So the whole vagus nerve is like a brake on an automatic car. So in an automatic car, the car will move if you don't have the brake on. Are you aware of that? You get more aware as you drive. And then the brake can, in very nuanced way, slow the car down, let it have a little more speed, slow it down. So without giving any gas, you can brake and release and brake and release. That's what happens with the ventral vagal in the state that Porges calls play dance. If the ventral vagal is doing that brake, release, then the whole vagus, especially the dorsal, has that brake, release. And that, they don't know for sure yet, but it seems they're discovering that dorsal vagal brake, release propels the content of the colon. That's that, when you're in play dance, then you also feel tired, you feel when you're hungry, you feel when you're full, you feel when you're thirsty, you feel when you're not thirsty, your body self-regulates. When you have certain movement expressions inhibited, you can see how that grabbing that brake is like slamming the brake on the car. And if that happens, and one time, and then you wake up and you've got a lot of fight flight. Oh my God, this thing happened. I was doing such and such and so and so and such and such. And then we've worked it through, we've shaken it off. And so if we slam it on and then we talk about it, and wiggle about it, and Facebook post and make some art, and then we're over here again. But if that happens when we're babies, day after day after day, then we just stop moving that way. that movement doesn't become available to us anymore, whatever that movement was. That definitely, if it got a lot of that, but even if it gets a hey, or a what are you doing? You know, or if it makes somebody disappear. You're one of the scariest things for us when we're babies is for our parents to just sort of disappear from their bodies. There was a scientist named Edward Tronick. He still exists. In fact, he recently, along with a pediatrician, Claudia Gold, he wrote a book called The Power of Discord. And so he's talking about these mismatching rhythms. And that's something I'm doing an article on, is mismatch. There's a dance movement therapy from Israel whose specialty is mismatch. So his studies long ago, he invited moms and their babies to connect. And then he asked the mom to go what he calls still-faced. So just go like this. And that's freaky, you know, the baby's like, where'd you go? Your body's still here, but you're not there. It's freaky.
Yeah.
So the babies would freak out. And then they would pretty quickly go into shutdown because they can't fight or flee. They're trapped. They're dependent on this being, and this being has got something weird happening with them. So all of those ways are ways that different movement expressions can get inhibited through dorsal vagal shutdown.
Wow, that's crazy. Like some of this stuff I've heard in my research, but wow, like there's just so many nuanced ways that, wow. Oh my gosh, this topic is just so interesting. Like I didn't realize there was so much to it, you know?
Well, and my way of putting it all together, because I'm a dance movement therapist and polyvagal geek, and because I've done my own therapeutic journey, and I've also worked as an expressive with many different expressive arts. My undergrad degree is theater. So if a movement has gone into shutdown, a helping relationship is what awakens it and allows the possibility of it to get moved through fight flight. When the person who's doing it, whatever the movement is having that feeling of, okay, it wasn't okay before. Is it okay now? It doesn't feel okay. Is this really okay? Are you sure I'm not supposed to just shut that feeling down? That's funny. Here comes can you hear that?
Yeah, it's not that bad though. I can.
Yeah. Fire truck is going by right when I'm talking about a nice little background accompanying sound. So if the person who is helping space stays in their social engagement system functioning, then it says to us, it's okay now. That movement wasn't okay. It scared our parents. Our parents were worried for our well-being if we behaved that way. And they shut that movement down, thinking that was a useful parental, thinking this was all there is. You know, if you're urged to bite your mother, we'll just shut that down. But then it becomes hard to chew your food well. It becomes hard to articulately speak your truth. So it was an unintentional societal thought back when we thought this was all there was, and there's a sweet spot in the middle. Now that we know this, we can say, instead of saying, don't do that, what we say is, this is how you do. So baby starts to get teeth and starts biting things, because that's what our teeth are designed for. And you chewy toys and stuff, but baby's biting the sibling. And instead of saying, don't do that, it's like, wow, it's time for some teething toys. Come on, you know, let's, and big sibling, it's like, hey, let's have some carrot therapy for you, because I bet you would like to just bite back. You know, let's give you something you can bite on and go like carrots, you know, or you can move your mouth and sing a song about, I just get so upset when my sibling bites my arm. Yeah. So when you turn it into useful, like chewing, my wish to bite back the baby that keeps biting me, I'm going to chew these carrots, or I'm going to speak something, or I'm going to drum.
Yeah, interesting. So I play tennis, and I feel like tennis is kind of my like you really get to hit the ball really hard. Yeah.
And it's relational.
Mhm.
It's like the energetic dance that's happening here. You throw me a question, I throw back some thoughts, and you ask another, and that's the and it has a playful way, possibly, to win or to lose in a way like, oh, darn it, that was so fun. High.
Yeah, exactly. That was the perfect way to describe it. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. What are some ways that I or other like teenagers could recognize what state our nervous system is in?
I think when you look at my drawing, which is online, you can download it. It also exists for counselors to use with their clients in a book called the Neuroeducation Toolbox. It is about practical applications of neuroscience for therapists and psychotherapists and counselors. Anyway, our website is chifortwo.com, CHIFORTWO.com. When you first go on, if you put in your email, you get another drawing that's called Polyvagal Pizzazz. And it's a drawing that kind of looks like a pizza, because we were enjoying the thought that the word hidden in the word pizzazz is the word pizza.
That's funny.
We thought that was fun. And what it does is there's a star in each pizza slice, because in Chi for Two, we talk about how ideally our body energy flows. Instead of getting inhibited by dorsal vagal shutdown, it flows out like a star. So everybody can be their unique star. And then when you have those urges to do things like bite, you direct it towards, you don't shut down your star energy. You direct your energy towards a source that would be functional and useful for that energy. So you are already in your tennis giving yourself a way to bring the antidote. When you notice, well, am I feeling like that? Or am I feeling like that? Or am I bouncing between the two? So when you go on our website, there's that. And then there's, let me see exactly what it says. Polyvagal Resources, I think, is the link that takes you to a bunch of different polyvagal resources. And on the bottom of the Polyvagal Resources page is a download of the map. I call it a map in quotations. When people are teaching this stuff, it's just under polyvagal theory, there's Polyvagal 101, Polyvagal 101, a really just brief summary of polyvagal theory, Polyvagal Resources. And on the resources page, there's a whole, there's a why Chi for Two now, a bunch of information, a deep dive into how Chi for Two partner practices help us embody polyvagal theory. And then there's the handouts. The map is there. So you can use this map. And then it's called a map in quotations, just because you can see how you can get stuck over here. Mm-hmm. And you can see that the pathway to go over there is kind of like being in a circle. Also on there is this. So circles of support. As a teenager, ideally, you're here. You've got parents watching you, but you're pretty able to maintain. So this would be, I'm feeling pretty self-regulated, and this is, I have lost it. And this starts really little. See, if we get this kind of thing here, then this allows us to have a little sense of our energy sphere. It's an energy skin, so that we can connect and play with people without getting our feelings hurt. If they get dysregulated, we can stay in our energy skin. Around this age, it'll pop and you keep coming back. And as you see how this arrow is like this and that, but then you come back. And the way you come back is you feel a circle of support, that you can come back into your circle of support. And so I'm looking for your circles of support, and that would be like a mentor teacher. It might be with certain things in your family. It might be a counselor at school, a bunch of different things. Human babies take so long to mature into functional adults. We need many the mothers. In Chi for Two, we say capital T, capital M, the mother, because for wild animals, wild wolves, the puppies nuzzle with mom, they bite at her, she brings them chewed up prey. And this is so fascinating. Then she'll bring them half dead prey, so it moves around so they can learn to hunt.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that cool? Isn't that interesting? Anyway, so we all need many wild mammal mothers. And that mom, hopefully dad, grandparents, aunts, uncles, church people, school teachers. I mean, we need a lot of mothers, because those wolf pups they're going to move through these circles pretty quickly and be here in, a couple of years, maybe a couple of years, 5 at the most. Whereas for humans, many people die without ever having really gotten here. So as a teenager, there's a real biological sense. I must do this dance with the body I come out of, because that's just what's wired into our animal bodies. But human real mothers, little m, human M mothers, little m mothers, are not equipped in many ways to do all of this. We need many mothers. And it can be scary and sad to recognize. It can be infuriating. You want the mother. You want your mother to be the mother, because she is the mother. This is the body I came out of. So bringing in lots of mothers helps. How are you doing hearing that?
Interesting. That is kind of interesting. I've realized that I've made a few friends this year that have made me feel that type of like safety and comfort, like a mother almost, which sounds weird when you say it, but it makes a lot of sense to me. Like it seems like, yeah.
So the idea that a circle of peers could provide a mother energy through the circle, that has been ancient culture's way of bringing the mother energy, is having a circle of people. That's another circle of support. So that's kind of how I hear that. When siblings start trying to mother each other in smaller groups, then what happens is there's matching, there's like the power of discord. There's what they call indulging rhythms. And then those teeth come in, and there's the biting, snapping rhythms that are designed to go towards the mother, but human mothers can't be enough for all that. And the world has forgotten, the world is trying to shut those rhythms down. Bite at your mother, well, just stop that. That's the way we'll solve that problem. And now that it's waking up and it's wanting to go to the mother, people might bring it to a friend, which is fine for the indulging rhythms, but then the friends start to fight, or the friends start to to team up and let's both fight that person. Or let's our group fight that group. We got to fight somebody. Is what gets stuck and then awakened. And because it's full of fight flight, these infant fighting rhythms that are about how to be a star end up getting weaponized. And groups forming and groups trying to fight something. Whereas when you can bring it to an elder, and that's ancient cultures too, when you can bring this really intense feeling to an elder, and the elder can say, like your tennis coach, just shoot that to me, and I can handle it. It's not going to hurt me. Bring it to me, bring it on. Then that helps you get out those most intense fighting rhythms. And then you can go back to playing tennis with your friends and high five. And yes, there can be encouragement for one another in friendships. We're doing a lot of kind of deep dive here. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So the one thing you mentioned about the baby and the carrot, I thought that was really interesting because so I have a little golden doodle. His name's Baxter, and we did a little training class with him, and their advice, if like Baxter, like when he was teething, like instead of yelling at him and telling him to, go do something else, like give him something to chew on or like something to do. And instead of telling him no, just redirect his attention to something more interesting.
Exactly.
So it sounded exactly like that. It was really
exactly. There's an article I wrote a long time ago that was called, "Is Our Dog Showing Us the Way?"
You'll have to send that to me. That sounds awesome.
I don't even know if I can dig that one back up again. So in Chief or Two, I have been consulting with some dog experts. I love the work of Temple Grandin, who is a woman she identifies as having autism. And she is an expert with animals. And she's written several books, Animals in Translation, Animals Make Us Human. And so some of her stuff, there's even more stuff now. She wrote a book called The Autistic Brain, I think it is. Anyway, and then there are new thoughts there's so many new thoughts coming out about dogs. Like we used to think that there was an alpha dog. This is kind of funny stuff. We used to think there was an alpha dog and that the alpha dog was the most aggressive. But as people have been studying dogs, they've begun to see that that's actually not the case, especially now that we know polyvagal theory. That the persons like this, they are not the head of a pack. The head of the pack is like this. So the dog that's actually kind of looking away is saying to the dog who's all aggressive, obviously you have a problem. I'll look away, I'll let you smell me and see that I'm not a challenge, I'm not a threat to you. And if you can feel safe enough, we'll play. You can see that happen in dog parks. That the one dog will just be kind of like, now if someone's really got if one dog has got a lot of shutdown, and it's very, very aggressive, then they won't be able to work it out. But if it's just a little bit of fear aggression, the dog that's like, you can smell me, I'll look away, just check me out, see that I'm okay. And when you see that I'm safe, then we'll play. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is happening. So this is the gist ages ago that got me writing that article, this very short article that just was our dog showing us the way.
That's so interesting. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so I was listening to an interview, I don't remember what, it was like on a YouTube video, and it was just a really good interview. And you talked about the like palm to palm.
Yeah, the palm to palm work. I'm glad you asked about that because I was wondering if I should go into it. It relates very much to friends, and that is so important in adolescence. So in Chi for Two, we have a lot of different mindful practices. There's another alarm going by. The medical vehicle this time, so we're getting into the medical material. Because palm-to-palm work with another person is a way to get mindful about what's happening in the dance of relationship. Now, the desk that's in front of you that your computer is on, is it solid enough that if you pushed your hands into it, it would not slide across the room?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a practice we call push, and it's one of the staples of Chi for Two. So when you push into something that's not you, you begin to feel you. As you push into it, can you feel your forearms?
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching you push and I'm noticing there's some movement in your spine. If you push a little harder, you might even feel your sits bones in the chair.
I feel like I need to stand up. I'm sitting on a little ball.
Oh, it's kind of hollow because you don't have a chair there to push into.
Okay.
And now if you push in like that, are you beginning to feel kind of all the way down to your legs, your core? It looks like you've got some core awareness there.
Yeah, that feels
If you do like in tennis and put one foot in front of the other and one foot back, and you might feel your legs, your core, your arms. So that's this. When we come out of the ocean of amniotic fluid, and we've got to get oxygen coming in our nose, not just the umbilical cord, food coming in our mouth, not just the umbilical cord, pushing into the swaddling. We call it the pouch because we're like marsupials. We need more, we need more time in the womb, definitely, I mean, is what doctors will say. But so the pouch becomes a substitute for the womb. And pushing into it is how we find ourselves. Now, if you kind of squirm around as you push, you can feel how pushing into something and squirming would help get your digestive system going when you're shifting it after you're born.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's one push that is meant to come to the elder. So pushing into an elder creates a certain kind of, creates this ability for the ventral vagal nerve to break the car and create play dance. Pushing into the elder does that. And we can hunger to do those pushes into the elder. And then we could get diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder. Because our urge to be oppositional, push into something that's not me, has been in shutdown, and it's awakening, and it's full of fight, flight, and maybe some medication puts it temporarily in shutdown, and then it awakens again, it's got more fight, flight. When we can find something to push into that feels like an elder, then that move can become something we use because, that's how we mow along. This is going to be very handy, to be able to push into other things with a lot of core strength. Now, when we didn't get that, and so many people, so many of your parents, your age parents didn't get this, because we used to think there was just this, and we're not being good parents if we let our child bites the sibling, and we think, oh my goodness, our child will never get it in a preschool. We better shut that down. Even with just the face that goes, the parents going like, preschool, it's not going to work. Oh my gosh, everybody's going to think I'm a terrible mother. Everybody's going to think I'm a terrible father, And so these dances get lost over generations. Then you're with your friends and it's like, well, we got to fight something. We need some big something. Well, we'll fight them and they'll fight us. And if it can happen like a team sport, volleyball, and it's playful and fun, and when you lose, no deal, it was fun, that was fun, great. But what happens is this whole culture's feeling like we need to fight another and we need to win. You know, and then you got Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Thrones. So when you can push towards a knee, an elbow, like the desk, on the desk, and feel solid in you, then when you play with your friends, it can be less solid of a connection. It can be more teasy and playful without people getting their feelings hurt. When this doesn't happen, and it feels like the push just wants to get bitey, like patty cake, like drumming, like if you drum now on the desk, drum, 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 you know, push, push, shove, 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 and it has that want to be that bite the carrot kind of rhythm.
Yeah.
To get that rhythm out at an elder helps us arm ourselves. It helps the energy flow from your core up your spine, out your arm into your hand. Like if right now, just slow-mo, like the Matrix, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I think it is. If you slowly move your arm and just fling the energy out of your hand at me, and I'll catch it across the Zoom, then you can feel that energy come up your spine, out your arm, out your hand, and somebody catch it. I'd like to imagine this.
Wow. This
Yeah,
is
you
really
wanna try
blowing
it?
my mind.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
want to try it? Just slow motion. You can lift
Okay.
your hand up and you kind of fling your arm like this. And I'll catch that energy way over here.
Okay. Okay.
Ready?
Okay. Okay.
Does it feel like I caught what you threw?
Oh wow, that did feel kind of cool.
Yeah. Do you feel armed? Like some energies in your arm,
Yeah.
in your hand? And that somebody could say, well, that's not okay. That's oppositional. That's blah, 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 blah. That's lack of self-regulation, blah, 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 blah. But we are co-regulating because I'm saying it's sports. I'm saying, yay for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you do it with your other hand.
Okay.
Does it feel like I caught that?
Yeah, my arms feel warm.
Yeah, exactly so.
Yeah.
Now, while the energy is flowing, if you bring your arms up and touch one hand to the other, this is your circle of support. You have a this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching you have like your star energy flows all the way from your core to your legs to your feet, from your core to your arms, and you have a hula hoop. So if somebody were to stab at you, a friend, and go, oh, well, you have less of a sense of you hurt my feelings. You know, instead of feeling like you hurt my feelings, you're more able to feel like, oh man, what happened to you this morning?
Yeah, like seeing from their perspective more.
Yeah.
And understanding what they're, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, that's a beautiful thing to say. If that person were in this room, would they be on your right or your left?
That right?
Okay, on your right. So if you now take the energy that's in your arms that's making your hula hoop, and you push like this, like, you know, how photographers will like look at a picture, you get perspective towards them, and they're over there. You can almost feel their energy like a fire, and you can kind of have some safe space to see, oh man, something's going on with them that sounds like they're in the funk.
Yeah.
And then you can keep your hula hoop. And all that comes because of being able to push into an elder. So we use these push palm to palm practices. They're different practices that are palm to palm for relationships where there's ideally power equality, friends, colleagues, siblings. boyfriend, girlfriend. And we're able to have those be playful and not let our feelings get hurt, not feel unattractive or all these kind of things, because we got our hula hoop. And what helps you get your hula hoop is getting that energy out. And for you, you have tennis. So you have that. Tennis is a way to do that move. Can you feel how tennis is similar to you throwing that energy towards me?
Yeah. Yeah, like when I'm playing and I hit a ball and it goes like really fast and it goes in and it gives me a little rush like every single time.
Yeah.
It feels really good.
Yeah. And then now what you can practice is after you play tennis, you could take a moment and just, people will be like, what are you doing? And you're going, I'm practicing chi for chi. And just feel how you've got your energy sphere, you know? You're armed to handle your energy. You've found play dance, and the more you practice, you might, if you really pause here in your hula hoop, you might find that yawn.
Oh, it feels nice. Like when I'm thinking about like that feeling when I play tennis and it just is nice. It's a nice little bubble. Okay, let me find another question. How has your knowledge of the polyvagal theory changed your life and the way you see yourself?
I think that question has been fully answered. that it has created Chi for two. It has helped me to recognize that if I feel, say, unattractive, that's my baby stuff. That when I was a baby, life or death needed to attract an elder to hold my head right here where the ventral vagal nerve is. And anytime I don't feel that way, I feel like knowing that's kind of baby helps me do some throwing of energy. I'll throw at trees sometimes and imagine the trees, big old tree, because I'm old, so I need something older than me. And I'll imagine a tree with its big branches, catching me, saying, whoa. We do this because it's energy that can feel like I need to get this out. And so that cleans it out. You got it out, somebody caught it. This is the co-regulation with an elder. It's different co-regulation when it is elder, redo of baby stuff, than when it is peer. Yeah, the different palm to palm. The push into the elder, as you just experienced, allows I've got my hula hoop, so what's going on with you? I can feel what's going on with you, but I don't feel I need to control my friends. I don't feel hurt by them. I don't feel abandoned by them. I don't feel they made me feel. If I feel unattractive, if I feel hurt, then I know that's baby me, and I know how to bring comfort to myself. If I feel frustrated and angry, I go shoot energy at Mama Tree.
So by elder, do you mean like for me, like tennis coach or a tree or a parental figure type of thing?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It could be a circle of friends, but what's tricky when there is no elder, it's a little bit like a pile of puppies, and they could get to biting at each other, dog eat dog. And those are the times where the elder comes in and says, bring that bite towards me. Because the elder recognizes that bite is what's going to help you choose food. It is life-saving that you bite. Of course, you're biting on flesh. That's what your teeth are designed to do. Bring it to me, and we'll literally work it out. And then you will be armed to play with your little.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So at the end of the day, when you're doing your therapy, what puts a smile on your face? Like, what is your why, your core reason that you do somatic therapy?
So I'm guessing that the people watching this video can see that the whole dance is fun. It's play dance. Even the intense, and like if something got stirred in you that was really sad or scary, having these practices for us to do together that gives you a little redo, knowing that what's happening is, you know, that you've got something that was shut down that is awakening and tears are coming, or you're wanting to say cuss words. In Chief too, we talk about mouthing consonants because certain sounds like coughing up a fur ball. And so when I can catch and hold space for people like I've done here a little bit for you to experience, and then have these practices that you can take into your life. So it's like you did some of this with me here today. You felt this as you go into your life. If you feel some pop, now you have more of a sense that I can come back and use some of those practices. I can shoot that energy at Mama Tree. I can play tennis with my coach. I can talk to my parents about some things, but I also know my parents are limited, and that it takes many the mothers. Yeah. And that gives me it's just such an honor to hold space for people in that healing way.
So do you think you view yourself as an elder?
Definitely.
In people's lives? Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, we technically are anytime we are the helper. When you don't look like me, when you don't look like an elder, it can be confusing when people start to treat you like you're the mother. That's one reason in relationships where there's power equality, ideally, it's not useful if one person starts to mother the other. It can feel great at first when there's the indulging dances and the I love you, and I want to snuggle with you. But then when the fighting rhythms start coming at you and you're like, what is this? You realize this is not working in a peer. That's what happens in romantic dances, because the romantic dances trigger the unfinished baby stuff. So all this, make me feel attractive, do not abandon me, I need you. It's the baby birth crawl that, I've got to get air coming in my nose. And as we understand this role of the elder and don't put that role on the relationships where there's ideally power equality, then it helps those relationships be more fun.
Okay.
How many more questions do we have?
I've got 2 more good questions.
All right. Then we'll let ourselves kind of feel done.
Okay. Actually, let's just do this one. This one's really good. So if you could go back and give your 17, 18-year-old self some advice, what would you say? What would you say to your younger self?
I love this question too. It is a really good one. It's very cheap for two. And it brings us back to the beginning. So it's the perfect final question. Because that's what I noticed therapy did for me. Is it did this. I mean, what you're just describing is what we write in here: inner parent, inner elder, inner coach. So as we do this work, we begin to be able to notice, oh, there's a forming in the womb part of me that has some needs. This is a very spiritual kind of redo. How the hell does all this work, if you'll excuse me? But I mean, babies, when they're born, they don't know their arms belong to them. If they don't do that push you just did and this work, their arms go like this. And the pushing is actually what helps the arm really control itself. So anyway, lots of redos. So I've done a lot of talking to myself at that age. Mostly I wouldn't talk. Mostly I would know that my 17-year-old self had a lot of unfinished this stuff. And I might use these words. I might ask, where in your body do you right now feel the most sensation? And as I feel into that, maybe my hand goes there. If my hand doesn't go there, I might say, could your hand go there? 17-year-old Dee, could your hand go where the sensation is? And the answer might be no. And then it would be, so you got some energy clogged up there using in your dorsal vagal nerve area. Why don't you bring that energy to me? So if I imagine Mother Tree is me and I get to be 17-year-old me and I get to go, I see Mother Tree's branches catching that energy and saying, you know, trees do turn our carbon dioxide into oxygen. Send back that oxygen. I'm able to take a deeper breath because instead of being locked here, there's some. And my hands, maybe both hands can come.
That was really beautiful. Wow. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me. This was.
Thank you. And I would love to have this interview. I totally could imagine sharing this with lots of people.
Yeah.
It's been a beautiful interview. I thought we brought some together in our dance together, that we brought some important information for teenagers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that this video could be very useful to many people.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because a lot of the, like when I was doing my research, a lot of the stuff is about like dysregulated adults that had bad experiences when they were younger. But I feel like the more we talk about our nervous system when we're younger, the more we can see that happening, the more we can recognize it.